Hello everyone, this is Arthur, or E.G. Arthur if you prefer, and today I have a video that is focused on some changes I've made to a plugin, and the plugin in particular is something called Rich, R-A-C-H with a exclamation mark at the end of it, exclamation point, and the Rich plugin is used for the Buried Treasure event. Now, I'm not going to give you a guide to the Buried Treasure event because I'm sure others, probably Fibro Jedi among others, have very fine guides to Buried Treasure. I will give you a tip though, which is if you've been wanting to get a bunch of stuff from the Buried Treasure event, like housing items, cosmetic items, emotes, mounts, things like that, then one good way to do it right now is to do it on Shadowfax. And the reason that Shadowfax is a good server to do it on is because there's hardly anybody here. I'm on Shadowfax right now. In approximately 9 days or so, the server will be shut for logins. It's a legendary server that reached level cap, so it's in the process of being wound down. Logins will stop in a little over a week. Then there will be some period of time where you can do, well, starting in the past and continuing for some months after logins are shut, you'll be able to do free transfers from Shadowfax to any regular server, not to Treebeard, but to any regular server. And then sometime after that, the server will be completely shut down, and most likely they'll be wiping the database. So, but in the meantime, since the free transfer period is going on at the same time as the Buried Treasure event, it's an awesome time to create a character on Shadowfax if you don't already have one, or create several characters, run the event like there's no tomorrow, because the tomorrows are actually running out on this server, and collect all the stuff. Don't actually consume any of the consumable items if you want to pass them along to other characters on other servers. Because what you can do is then do the free transfers to those other servers and distribute all the goodies that you won in the Buried Treasure event to those other characters. So that's about all I'll say on the Buried Treasure event itself. Now, to talk about the plugin, I'm running a pure vanilla version of the plugin, which I call the baseline version. And you see, I've actually cloned it to the name Rich Baseline. This is the official version, the unmodified version that you'll get if you just downloaded it from lotrointerface.com, or if you use Plugin Compendium to install it, and this is what you get. The plugin, I'm not going to give a full tour of the plugin either, just to mention that here is the main window here on my screen. The top part of the top half, roughly, of this consists of timers for quests and for the dig phase. It doesn't know that a new round has started right now because I just logged into the server. But once the announcement comes up, it'll reset that. There are some other windows that you can bring up with these buttons. Here's a stats window with timings for the digging rounds, tokens, chests, etc. You can show that for all characters or just the logged in character. This button will bring up a barter list. And I know that the plugin author B4 issued a patch a while back to update this barter list. I believe, I'm almost 100% confident that his patch doesn't interfere with my patch at all, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that his patch only modifies a file within the code referred to as barter.lua. And my changes don't affect barter.lua, so the patches should be completely compatible with each other. But I'll test that. And if there is any compatibility issues, I'll note that on the Lotro interface entry for this patch. The main focus of my changes are related to these 8 icons you see on the bottom part of the main window. Now, as the Sesame Street jingle goes, one of these things is not like the others. The 7 of the 8 icons, the 7 that I have highlighted here, represent items in the inventory, in your inventory. And as you can see, I have one of my bags open, and if I put this right underneath, you can see there's a one-to-one mapping. I have 17 dowsing gems. I have 22 trained cave claw cages. I have a single pick, treasure hunter's pick. I have 4 different sizes of treasure caches, which are represented on the bottom row within the plugin. Also in that bag, I have some samples of some of the things that I've acquired from this. Like I said, Shadowfax is easy pickings right now. I have a treasure-laden steed that I haven't even consumed yet, which I'll pass along to some other character probably. But in any case, the 7 icons here that represent items in the inventory are set up as quick slots, meaning the intent is that you can use those items directly from the display in the plugin here. You don't have to open up your inventory bags. You don't have to assign a regular quick slot down here or wherever you want to put them. You can use them directly from these quick slots. At least that's the theory. In practice, it seems that there's a problem or some sort of issue with the pick quick slot. See, I'm clicking on this and it's saying select a target using, but it doesn't actually use it. It doesn't work. Now, maybe there's some sort of setting that I have wrong. I don't think it's a plugin issue, because even if I try to use that directly from my inventory, I get the same thing. I select, and if I try to click on that in my inventory, it doesn't work. Even if I were to put that in one of my normal quick slots like here, it doesn't work. So I don't think it's really the plugin's fault. It might be some sort of user profile settings, but in any case, that's one of the quick slots that doesn't appear to work. But these other quick slots do. If I were to use a dowsing gem, I can do that directly from the quick slot. Now I'm going to dig that, and you'll see that the icon for the pick changes. When I had only one pick, it showed the regular icon with the regular background color with no number overlay, and that's what it uses to represent a single item. When I used up that pick, it grayed out the item, so there was a visual distinguisher between the single item case and the empty, the no stack or empty stack case. And if you hover over it, it says empty. Similar thing applies to the treasure caches. For the medium treasure cache, you can see I have a single medium treasure cache. So I have a regular icon with a regular cyan or teal background here. But if I use that from the quick slot, I got 5 tokens and it grayed it out to indicate that that stack is now gone. All right, now what about the odd man out? What about this token display here? What happens to that when I completely use it up? Well, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to barter for some cave claws and a dowsing gem. Now, if I look in my wallet, it shows me, if I search for treasure, it shows that I have 5 buried treasure tokens. That also is in sync with what's shown in the barter window. It shows me that I have 5 buried treasure tokens available for barter. And that's also what it shows in the plugin icon display. But let's see what happens if I barter for a trained cave claw cage, which costs 5 tokens. Blat. What a bunch of things happened here. You see in the wallet that my buried treasure tokens have gone away. I don't have any. In the barter list, it shows me I have 0 of those tokens available, so those are in sync. But what isn't in sync is that this icon wasn't updated. This icon still shows that I have 5 buried treasure tokens. So it's an inaccurate display. I would definitely call that a bug. And to reinforce the fact that it's a bug, you see this ugly error message got vomited out in my chat window. It tried to dereference a nil value. So that's not good. What's even worse is that error message will spew out even if you barter some other currency down to 0 while this plugin is running. The fact is, it's watching for anything to be removed from your wallet items. By removed, I mean you reduce the quantity to 0, and it's eventually taken out of the list. Now, it's easy to say that this is a coding error in the Rich plugin, but actually, this is endemic. This is a endemic challenge to any plugin that attempts to deal with wallet items. A very popular plugin which I'm running, and you can see at the top here, is called Titan Bar, and it has a similar issue. Now, right now, I'm tracking tokens of Hypebold, and it's showing 0, which is a correct display. But before I logged out and logged back in again, it had an incorrect display, and I'll show you a clip of how I was able to reproduce that problem with the Titan Bar plugin. Here's a small clip of what I'm talking about. I'm running the Titan Bar plugin here, and you see up here I'm tracking tokens of Hypebold, and I have 10 of those tokens right now, and it's reflecting accurately. If I then go to the EastEmnet Miscellany Quartermaster and start bartering those for silver tokens of the Rittermark, see, it's as I barter down, you can see the Titan Bar control is counting down the quantity. I get to 1, it says 1, but then when I do the last one, it still says 1, even though you can see here, I have no Hypebold tokens. And it also that reflects here in the barter window that I have no Hypebold tokens. Yet it still says 1 because of the same bug that affects Rich. It also affects Titan Bar. Now I may, after I finish these changes to Rich, attempt to fix this for Titan Bar, and we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to illustrate the fact that that particular problem is endemic to how the plugin API works. It's not just a coding error in the Rich plugin. All right, so now with that clip done, I'm going to go back to the main video here, and hopefully it's clear that this is something that is just a challenge for plugins to deal with respect to wallet items. However, I have coded around it, and I will demonstrate the updated version. So I'm going to do a plugins unload Rich baseline. Close some windows. I'm going to do a plugins load Rich, which is my modified version, and instantly you can see that the appearance of that icon has changed. What I have chosen to do for the patch is the tokens, when you have no tokens, it'll appear as a artificially lightened version of the regular buried treasure token icon. And the reason I do that is because if I just use the regular icon, it would be indistinguishable from the single token case. Remember, a single token shows up as just the regular icon with no number overlay. So in order to distinguish it, I put a filter on it to lighten it up and brighten it up so that it appears different visually. So now I dug up 2 tokens and the icon changed back to its regular icon appearance. It's not as bright. And just for completeness, I will spin that back down to 0, and you'll see it changes back to the brightened version of the icon. And oh, by the way, that ugly error message that was vomiting out isn't present anymore. So I'll barter that. I'll barter that for a couple of dowsing gems. And you see now we're back to the lightened version of the icon. So that's my fix for the spending down to 0 bug, which existed in the plugin. All right, so now the other challenge that I took on is related to having multiple stacks of items. When you have multiple stacks, the normal case is that you have one or more full stacks with the stack size of the cave claw cages and the picks and the dowsing gems being 50. And then in addition to that, you may have exactly one partial stack. So for instance, I'm showing here that we have a quantity of 57 picks, and it's arranged as a full stack of 50 and a partial stack of 7. Now, what I have done to represent that properly, because the baseline version of the plugin will only pick one of those quantities to put in the quick slot position. Either it'll show 50 or it'll show 7. But what I've done is I've stretched out the layout of the main window slightly in a vertical direction in order to make space for some fields which represent overflow. So you see above the pick, you have 50 and a plus symbol, and then you have 7 in the actual quick slot. So if you do the quick math there, you can get the proper quantity of 57. The rule that I have employed here is that whenever you have one or more full stacks and a partial stack, is the partial stack always goes into the quick slot position. And the reason for that is to be inventory friendly. You want to use up your partial stacks before you start chipping away at your full stacks. Now for picks, as I mentioned, it's kind of a moot point because you can't use up those picks from a quick slot anyway. But for something like dowsing gems or trained cave claw cages, then it becomes an issue. It becomes an inventory optimization to use up your partial stacks so that you can free up a whole inventory slot and then use it for other things. Now, there are a couple of edge cases to this. One edge case is kind of a very rare edge case, which is there's only room for 3 digits and the plus symbol in that overflow field. what happens if you exceed 999 items. And here's a screenshot of exactly that. And you see there's 20 full stacks of 50 dowsing gems, and then a partial stack. And in that case, I had to come up with something. So what I picked in a kind of whimsical way was I just put the string ZOMG there, as in ZOMG, why on earth did you collect that many dowsing gems? ZOMG, you are insane. You are ridiculous. But, you know, testing is testing. I had to make sure that it worked properly. I have not, by the way, tested it fully for the treasure caches, because accumulating over 1,000 treasure caches is no mean feat. But I'm going to assume that it works properly. Cross fingers, knock on wood, or as the Italians say, touch iron. That's one edge case, is exceeding 999 items. Bottles of beer on the wall. The other edge case is, what if you have multiple partial stacks? Would I follow the same logic that I did in the other more normal scenario and say that the smallest of the partial stacks gets put into the quick slot? As a matter of fact, I do not make that. I do not enforce that same rule. And the reason is that I have a design principle, a UI design principle, that when I'm faced with a situation that appears to be intentional by the user, then rather than fighting the user with some arbitrary assumption, I try to honor whatever they're trying to accomplish. So partial stacks normally will not appear by accident. Now, for picks, they may show up by accident because you can't use the quick slot. And so you have to use a right click or a use command, and that's going to pull from whatever stack that happens to be first in the sequence of your inventory. So I don't have any control over that. So you may end up with partial stacks there, but on the other hand, it's a moot point because you can't use that quick slot anyway. For dowsing gems or cave claw cages, it does come into play though. If you have multiple partial stacks because you have some sort of special methodology that you're following, and you don't like the fact that I picked one of those stacks ostensibly at random, then if you're a savvy user, you can control that by rearranging things in your inventory, because it's really not a random pick. It's based on the order of your inventory. So as you can see, I'm going from 28 in the quick slot, 29 overflow, and then flipping it around to 29 and 28, or in the other direction. See, I can control which of those partial stacks goes into the quick slot and thus gets pulled from first, and which of them is just counted as an overflow and will only be pulled from if the other stack is completely exhausted. So I'm giving the user control over that, but only if they're savvy enough to know that they have to line up their inventory a particular way in order to accomplish that result. So to summarize, I have fixed the spending down to 0 bug by some extra coding, which I won't get into the weeds on that, but it requires looking for updates and doing callbacks for updates and things like that. And along the way, I got rid of that ugly nil dereferencing error. And I also changed the appearance of the icon so that the empty stack or the disappeared stack case is visually separate from the single token case. Then for the multiple stack situations, scenarios, I have overflow fields, which show how many of that item, in addition to what is shown in the quick slot, is in your inventory. And the two different scenarios there are that you have one or more full stacks and a partial stack, in which case the partial stack goes into the quick slot, or you have multiple partial stacks, in which case just one of them gets picked, but the user can, if they wish, control which gets picked by arranging their inventory. And last but not least, if you have more than 999 of a particular item, then it'll put the string ZOMG in there. And if you don't like ZOMG, you could always choose to go into the main.win.lua file, find out where ZOMG is, put your own string there. Just be aware that you're limited to 4 characters unless you actually change the font size to free up space for more than 4 characters. So good luck. If you want to hack on the patch, then go ahead, be my guest. But hopefully folks find this useful and will improve their buried treasure event experience. And again, if you want to get all the stuff in this event, I would recommend doing this on Shadowfax and then doing a free transfer to other target servers in order to spread the wealth to your other characters on other servers. And I will catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.